Well, on the basis of the nature of relations between the legislature and the executive organs of the government, the democratic government has been classified into two categories. That is, the parliamentary system of the government as well as the presidential system of the government. Article 174 and 175 deals with the parliamentary system of the government at the center. Similarly, 163 and 164 article deals with the parliamentary system of government at the state. Now let us look at what do you mean by the parliamentary system of the government, along with what are the various features of the parliamentary system of the government. Well, the parliamentary system of the government is the one in which the legislature, in which the executive is responsible to the legislature for its every policies as well as the acts. On the other hand, the presidential system of the government is the one in which the executive is not responsible to the legislature for its every policies as well as the acts. Let us look at some of the important features of the parliamentary system of the government so that you can get it very clearly. First one, we have the nominal as well as the real executive. One of the most important feature of the parliamentary system of the government is that the nominal as well as the real executive. Well, in India, we have both the nominal executive as well as the real executive. The president is the nominal executive, whereas the prime minister is the real executive. That's why the president is known as the head of the state, as well as the prime minister is known as the head of the government. Similarly, we have feature number 2 of the parliamentary system, that is the majority party rule. Basically, you know that the party which secures the maximum seats, which secures the majority of the seats in the Lok Sabha, can form the government, and the leader of that party is appointed as the prime minister of that country by the president. That means the leader of that party, the leader of the party which secures the maximum majority of the seats in the Lok Sabha, that party form the government. That party can form the government, and the leader of that party will be appointed as the prime minister by the president. And the rest of the council of the ministers, they are appointed by the President of India on the recommendation or on the advice of the Prime Minister of India. So in case a majority fails, that means if no party gets the majority, then how the government is formed? If no party gets the majority, then a coalition government is formed. So what do you mean by this coalition government? So a government in which there is no majority party, the government which is formed by 2 or more political parties in order to carry out the administration, or in order to run the administration, in order to prove their majority, the government which is formed, that government is basically called the coalition government. So when no majority party rule is there, then the coalition government is formed. And we have the feature number 3, that is the collective responsibility. So what do you mean by this collective responsibility? In a parliamentary system of the government, the ministers are responsible to the parliament in general, as well as they are responsible to the Lok Sabha in particular. So that means in the parliamentary system of the government, there will be a responsibility of both the responsibility of the ministers to the parliament as well as to the Lok Sabha, which is the houses of the parliament. And we also have the political homogeneity. Basically, the members, those who are in power, they do belong to the same political party, and they do have the same ideology, and due to the same political homogeneity, there will be a smooth functioning in the governance of the country. There will be a clear understanding of each and every individual, those who are working for the nation. Next, we have the double membership. That means a minister can be a member of both the legislature as well as state legislature, or he can be a member of both the houses of the parliament, or he can be the member of the Rajya Sabha as well as the Lok Sabha. And a person can be a minister, but within the 6 consecutive months that he has to become a member of the parliament, otherwise he ceases to be the minister. This also we need to remember. And the next one, we have the leadership of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister role, the role of the Prime Minister is very significant. The Prime Minister plays a very important and crucial role in, because the Prime Minister is the head of the government. As the head of the government, as the head of the political party and the leader of that party, his role is very crucial and very significant for the welfare of the nation. And the next one, the dissolution of the lower house, the parliament. That means the lower house of the parliament can be dissolved in the parliamentary system of the government, and that can be dissolved by the President of India on the recommendation of or on the advice of the Prime Minister of India. That means the lower house of the parliament, that is the Lok Sabha, can be dissolved by the President only on the recommendation of the Prime Minister, who is in the power of the majority party rule. So these are the various features of the parliamentary system of the government, and in the parliamentary system of the government, these features exist as a key role. But we need to understand that why the parliamentary system has been adapted. So what are the merits of the parliamentary system? If you look at the merits of the parliamentary system, there is a harmony between the legislature as well as the executive. In the parliamentary system of the government, since the executive is completely responsible to the legislature for its every policies and acts, that means there will be a harmony and the balance between the executive as well as the legislature, and that is one of the advantage of the parliamentary system. Similarly, it is a responsible government. Since they are responsible to that, the functioning of that system will be carried out in a very efficient manner. But if you look at the demerits, we have the unstable. Though the parliamentary system of government is responsible, but it is less stable. Similarly, we have the no continuity of the policies. Well, if you look at in the year 1977, the Janata government, which is headed by the Morarji Desai, reversed the entire policies of the Congress government. And when the Congress came back to power again in 1980, again it changed the policies of the government. In this way, there will be no continuity of the policies. That is one of the demerits of the parliamentary system of the government. So if you look at the merits of the parliamentary system of the government, you have the harmony between the legislature as well as the executive, as well as it is a responsible government, and there will be a wide representation as well, the despotism. But if you look at the demerits, you have the unstable as well as the no continuity of the policies. These are the demerits of the parliamentary system of the government. And why India has adapted a parliamentary system of the government rather than the presidential system, American presidential system of the government. We need to understand it, my dear students. The parliamentary system of the government is that government in which the executive is responsible to the legislature for its every policies and the acts. On the other hand, the presidential system of the government is that in which the executive is not responsible to the the legislature. That means there is a doctrine of the separation of the power between the legislature as well as the executive. But in case of the parliamentary system of the government, it is based on the principle of the coordination between the legislature as well as the executive. There will be a very good coordination between the legislature as well as the executive. Whereas in the presidential system of the government, there will be a principle of the separation of the power between the legislature as well as the executive. So that is all about, that's the difference between the parliamentary system as well as the presidential system. In case of the presidential system, the president is the head of the state as well as the head of the government. What does he do as the head of the state? As the head of the state, he enjoys the ceremonial positions, as well as the head of the government. He leads the executive organs of the government. Similarly, the president is basically, in the presidential system of the government, the president is elected by the electoral college, which consists of electoral college, and there is a small body called the kitchen cabinet, and it is an advisory body. Basically, the kitchen cabinet, the members, those who are there in the kitchen cabinet, they are the advisory body, and they are the non-elected departmental secretaries who are selected and appointed by the president, and they can be removed anytime by the president. But here the president, now you may have a doubt that how the president can be removed. Can the president be removed? Yes. The president can be removed by the process of impeachment, and that is also for a grave unconstitutional act. So if there is a grave unconstitutional act, in that case only, basically the president can be removed by the Congress. Otherwise, the president cannot be removed by the Congress in the presidential system of the government, in case of the USA or in any other. So now the question is, why has India adopted a parliamentary system of the government? The first point is, we have that since India had the experience of, it has the familiarity, since India is complete in the familiarity of what happened, of the British pattern, familiarity of the parliamentary system of the government during the British rule, that it could get easily understand about the parliamentary system of the government. And one of the most important thing is that it is a responsible government, and that's why basically Dr. B.R. Ambedkar pointed out that in the Constituent Assembly there are two conditions which need to satisfy for a democratic government. The one is the responsibility. One is the responsibility, and the next one is stability. But the parliamentary system of the government is more responsible than stability. That means there won't be so much stable in case of the parliamentary system of the government, but responsibility will be there in case of the parliamentary system of the government. On the other hand, in the presidential system of the government, there will be more stability rather than the responsible. That means the president as well as its members, the president as well as the secretaries, they are not responsible to the houses of the parliament which is there. They are not responsible to the Congress, and they do not attend, they do not present in the Congress for its session or any other thing in the presidential system of the government, because they are not responsible to that. Whereas in the parliamentary system of the government, since the India has adopted a parliamentary system of the government because it is familiarity with that system while the British rule was going on. So that's why the India has adopted a parliamentary system of the government. So now you may ask me the question, then what is the parliamentary system of the government has been borrowed from the British Constitution. But what is the difference between this British Constitution as well as the American Constitution? No doubt, most of the provisions have been borrowed from the British Constitution. But the difference is that, in the British Constitution, there is the head of the state is, in our Indian Constitution, the head of the state is an elected head, and the president. Therefore, we call it as a republic. Whereas in the British Constitution, there is a system of the monarchy. It continues, and the head of that state is either king or a queen. But we have the republican nation. That is, the head of the state is the president. But the most important thing is that the prime minister plays a very significant role, not both in the British Constitution as well as the Indian Constitution, because the prime minister's role is very much crucial for the continuation of the various policies of the government. That's why. But when the prime minister, when there is no power of any party, then what happens? Sometimes the president can invite the opposition party, the leader of the opposition party, and so that the leader of the opposition party can be appointed as the prime minister of the government. That's why many of the political scientists would often say that the opposition leader may be regarded as the alternative prime minister of the country. So this is what all about the parliamentary system of the government, one of the most important feature of the Indian Constitution. And the next we will discuss about the fundamental rights as well as the directive principles of the state policy and many other features of the Indian Constitution.